Nobody on Station Horizon had ever seen 12 warships appear at once. The sensors screamed warnings across every deck, and within minutes, the entire population of 8,000 souls knew they were trapped. The Cre Dominion had come for them at last. Commander Valis pressed her webbed fingers against the observation window and watched the enemy fleet spread out like a net around her station. She was Delmar, an amphibian species known for patience and calm thinking. But even her training could not stop the cold fear creeping through her chest. Horizon Station sat at the edge of contested space. For 40 years, it had served as a trading post and meeting place for 3 peaceful species. The Delmar handled administration. The insectoid Chirani ran communications. The bird-like Skylith managed cargo and transport. Together, they had built something rare in the galaxy, a place where different beings could meet without weapons drawn. Now the Creth wanted to take it all. Supreme Admiral Gorith appeared on every screen across the station. He was massive, even for his reptilian species. Scales the color of dried blood covered his face, and his eyes held the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. "Attention, Horizon Station," his voice boomed through speakers. "You have 12 hours to surrender unconditionally. All personnel will become property of the Cre Dominion. All resources will be seized. Resistance will result in complete destruction. This is not a negotiation." The transmission ended. Silence filled the command center. Valis turned to her crew. She saw terror in their eyes. The Chirani communications officer, a young female named Riss, was clicking her mandibles in distress. 2 Skylith security guards had their feathers pressed flat against their bodies in fear. "How long until Federation reinforcements can reach us?" Valis asked, though she already knew the answer. Riss checked her console with shaking limbs. 4 days at minimum speed. Our distress signal was sent, but the main fleet was drawn away by reports of an attack on the outer colonies. "A trap," Valis said quietly. "They planned this perfectly." She looked at the 2 patrol vessels docked at her station. Small ships, built for customs inspection and escort duty. Against 12 Creth warships, they would last perhaps 30 seconds. On the Creth flagship, Admiral Gorith accepted a drink from his second-in-command. The bridge crew was already celebrating. They toasted to easy victory, to promotion, to the wealth they would claim from the captured station. "Supreme Admiral," one officer said, "our sensors detect a transmission from the station. They are sending a message on a channel we do not recognize." Gorith waved his claw dismissively. "Let them cry for help. No one can reach them in time. The Federation is days away. These soft creatures have no other allies." He was wrong about that. In her private office, Valis sat before a communication device she had never used. It had been installed 5 years ago, after her species made first contact with a new civilization. The humans had seemed friendly enough. A bit strange, coming from a harsh world that should have killed them long ago. But they had offered something valuable. A mutual defense pact. At the time, Valis had considered it a formality. The humans were far away, and the Federation had always solved its own problems. She had never expected to actually need their help. Now she pressed the activation button and spoke clearly into the microphone. "Horizon Station to Human Defense Alliance. We require immediate assistance. 12 hostile warships. Civilian station under threat. 8,000 lives at risk. We have 12 hours until destruction. Please respond." She sat back and waited. The nearest human territory was 3 days away by normal travel. Even if they wanted to help, they could never arrive in time. This was probably pointless. The response came in 11 minutes. A human face appeared on screen. A female with short dark hair and tired eyes. She wore a military uniform Valis did not recognize. "Commander Valis, this is Admiral Foster of the Human Rapid Response Division. Your distress call has been received and verified. Help is being dispatched immediately." Valis blinked her large eyes. "Dispatched? But the distance." "Do not worry about the distance, Commander. A response ship will arrive within 6 hours. Hold your position. Protect your people. Do not surrender." "A response ship?" Valis repeated. "How many vessels are you sending?" Admiral Foster's expression remained calm. "One should be sufficient. The pilot has been briefed. He is already on his way." The transmission ended. Valis stared at the empty screen. 1 ship against 12 Creth warships. Either the humans were insane, or they knew something the rest of the galaxy did not. She hoped it was the second option. Outside her window, the Creth fleet waited. Their crews drank and laughed and counted the hours until victory. They had no idea what was coming for them. None of them did. Fear has a smell. Riss knew this because her antennae could detect chemical changes in the air around her. Right now, the entire station smelled like terror. She sat at her communications console and monitored every channel she could find. Creth military frequencies buzzed with confident chatter. Station internal communications were filled with crying and prayers. And somewhere out there, a single human ship was supposedly racing toward them. Riss had always been fascinated by humans. As a communications specialist, she had studied their transmissions for years. She collected recordings of their music, their news broadcasts, their strange entertainment programs. Most of her colleagues thought she was wasting her time on a species that lived too far away to matter. Now she wondered if all that study might actually be useful. Commander Vallis had ordered all civilians to move to the station's inner core. The central sections had the strongest hull plating. If the Creth started shooting, those areas might survive a few extra minutes. It was not much comfort, but it was something. 8 hours remained until the deadline. On the Creth flagship, Admiral Gorth received a report from his intelligence officer. The reptilian commander listened with amusement as his subordinate described the transmission they had intercepted. The station contacted a species called humans, the officer explained. They claim help is coming. Humans. Gorth tapped his claws on his throne. I have heard of them. Small creatures from a toxic world. They joined the galactic community recently. Yes, Supreme Admiral. Our records indicate they are approximately 3 days' travel from this location at standard speeds. Gorth laughed, a harsh sound like rocks grinding together. Then they are no threat. By the time any human ship arrives, this station will be ours, and its people will be in chains. He activated the fleet-wide communication channel. Attention, all vessels. I have just learned that our prey has called for help from a species called humans. A single ship is apparently coming to save them. Laughter echoed across the fleet. One ship, Gorth continued. These fools think one ship can challenge 12 Creth warships. Let them send their human. We will crush them both and add another species to our list of conquests. More laughter. More toasts. The Creth were enjoying themselves immensely. Back on Horizon Station, Riss pulled up everything she knew about humans and began sharing it with anyone who would listen. She found a group of frightened civilians huddled in a cargo bay and sat with them. Let me tell you about the species that is coming to help us, she said, her translator turning her clicks and whistles into words they could understand. A young Skylith chick looked up at her with wide eyes. Are they strong? They come from what scientists call a death world, Riss explained. Their planet has extreme temperatures, violent weather, active volcanoes, and constant earthquakes. The gravity is crushing compared to most inhabited worlds. Predators hunt on every continent. Diseases evolve constantly to attack them. That sounds horrible, a Delmar elder said. How did they survive? That is the interesting part. They should not have survived. Every calculation says their species should have gone extinct long ago. But they did not. They adapted. They fought. They refused to die. Riss brought up images on her portable screen. Pictures of human history. Humans crossing frozen wastelands. Humans sailing wooden ships across violent oceans. Humans climbing impossible mountains just to prove they could. They are not the strongest species in the galaxy, Riss continued. They are not the fastest or the smartest or the most advanced. But they have something else. Something that does not translate well into other languages. They call it spite. Spite? The Skylith chick asked. When someone tells a human that something cannot be done, they become obsessed with doing it. When someone tries to hurt them, they become determined to hurt back harder. When the universe says they should give up, they get angry and push forward anyway. The cargo bay fell silent. Outside, the Creth fleet waited like predators around wounded prey at the 8-hour mark. Something happened. A Creth scout ship detected an unusual reading at the edge of the system. Space itself seemed to fold and ripple. Then a ship emerged from nowhere. It was small. Compared to the massive Creth warships, it looked almost like a toy. Sleek and angular, painted in dark colors that made it hard to see against the black of space. The scout transmitted its readings to the flagship. Admiral Gorth studied the data with growing confusion. One life sign, his sensor officer reported. One pilot. The ship appears to be. I am not certain how to describe this, Supreme Admiral. The power readings do not make sense. What do you mean? According to our instruments, that small vessel has more energy output than our entire fleet combined. But that is impossible. It must be an error. Goreth stared at the tiny dot on his tactical display. One ship, one pilot, coming to face 12 warships. Then the human spoke. This is Captain Daniel Webb of the UNS Resolute. I am responding to a mutual defense pact activation. You are currently threatening a protected station. You have 1 hour to withdraw from this system. Goreth leaned forward. Or what, little creature? The human's voice was calm, almost bored. Or I will be forced to remove you myself. The Cre Admiral laughed so hard he nearly choked. Remove us? You are 1 ship against 12. You are outnumbered. There was a pause. Then Daniel Webb responded with words that would echo through history. Admiral, I think you should check your mathematics again. Daniel Webb had been eating dinner with his mother when the alert came through. Pasta with homemade sauce, her specialty. He had finished his plate, kissed her on the forehead, and told her he would be home in a few days. She did not ask where he was going. She never did. After 30 years as a pilot's mother, she had learned that some questions were better left unasked. Now Daniel sat in the cockpit of the Resolute, watching 12 enemy warships spread out before him. His instruments gave him detailed information about each one. Weapons, shields, crew complement, structural weaknesses. The Cre built strong ships, he had to admit. Ugly, but strong. Not strong enough. Daniel was 34 years old. He had brown eyes, brown hair, and a crooked nose from a childhood accident involving a bicycle and a fence post. He stood at average height for a human male and had a slight limp from an injury sustained during a rescue mission 6 years ago. Looking at him, nobody would guess he was one of the most decorated pilots in the human defense force. That was by design. Daniel did not like attention. He just liked helping people. And he really hated bullies. The Rapid Response Program had been created specifically for situations like this. Sometimes allies called for help when there was no time to assemble a fleet. Sometimes a single pilot with the right ship could make all the difference. Daniel had volunteered for the program the day it opened. He had spent the last 3 years waiting for exactly this kind of call. A secure channel opened. Commander Vallis appeared on his screen, her amphibian features difficult to read, but her voice clearly worried. Captain Webb, thank you for coming. But I must ask, is 1 ship truly going to be enough? Commander, I understand your concern, but I need you to trust me. Keep your station's shields at maximum and keep your people away from the outer sections. This might get a little bumpy. The Cre have 12 warships. Yes, I noticed. Daniel smiled. It was not a particularly comforting smile. I've faced worse odds. On the Cre flagship, Admiral Goreth was losing patience. The hour he had given the human was almost over, and the tiny ship had done nothing but drift slowly toward the station. No weapons charging. No defensive maneuvers. Just waiting. Perhaps the creature is surrendering, his second-in-command suggested. Perhaps it has realized the foolishness of its challenge. Or perhaps it is truly insane, Goreth replied. He had met humans once before, at a diplomatic meeting years ago. They had seemed harmless then, soft and weak and overly emotional. Nothing to fear, but something about this situation bothered him. The readings from that ship still did not make sense, and the human's voice had carried no fear at all. Not bravado, not false courage, just calm certainty. Goreth did not like uncertainty. All ships, prepare to fire, he commanded. We will end this farce now. Destroy the human vessel. The Cre fleet opened fire at the 59-minute mark. What happened next would be studied by military academies across the galaxy for centuries. The Resolute moved, not flew, not dodged, moved. The ship seemed to exist in multiple places at once, sliding between weapons fire like smoke through fingers. Plasma bolts passed through empty space. Missiles lost their targets. Railgun rounds hit nothing but vacuum. Then the Resolute started hitting back. It passed the first warship so fast that the Cre crew barely saw it. But they felt the result. Their weapons array simply stopped existing. Surgical cuts through hull plating had severed every connection to their main guns. The second ship lost propulsion. The third began venting atmosphere through precise holes in its outer hull. The fourth found its shield generators suddenly offline. Daniel was not trying to kill anyone. He was disabling, ship by ship, with the precision of a surgeon. Every strike was calculated. Every movement was planned. He knew exactly where to hit each vessel to render it harmless without destroying it. On Horizon Station, Riss watched with her mandibles hanging open. Her sensors could barely track the human ship. It was too fast, too agile, too impossible. He is playing with them, she whispered, like a predator with prey. Commander Vallis said nothing. She could not find words for what she was witnessing. A single pilot was dismantling an invasion fleet, and he was making it look easy. 6 ships disabled in 30 minutes. The remaining 6 began to cluster together, trying to protect each other. Admiral Goreth screamed orders that his captains struggled to follow. How do you fight an enemy you cannot hit? How do you defend against weapons you cannot see coming? The Creth had conquered dozens of species. They had never faced anything like this. They had never faced a human with a reason to fight. Admiral Goreth had never known defeat. His career spanned 40 years of conquest and victory. He had crushed rebellions, conquered worlds, and broken the spirit of species that dared to resist the Dominion. Now he watched half his fleet drift helplessly in space, disabled by a single enemy, and something cold settled in his stomach. Not fear. Goreth refused to call it fear, but definitely something uncomfortable. All remaining ships, new orders, he broadcast to his surviving captains. Ignore the human vessel. Concentrate all fire on the station itself. If we cannot destroy our enemy, we will destroy what he came to protect. The 6 functional Creth warships turned their weapons toward Horizon Station. 8,000 innocent beings huddled inside, waiting to die. On the Resolute, Daniel Webb watched the enemy ships change their targeting. His calm expression flickered for just a moment. Something darker crossed his face, something that made his brown eyes turn cold. Admiral, he spoke into the open channel, that was a mistake. He had been holding back, playing with them, as Riss had observed, disabling rather than destroying, showing mercy to crews who had come to enslave innocent people. That ended now. The Resolute stopped dancing. It struck. The first Creth warship exploded so fast that its crew never knew what hit them. One moment they were aiming at the station. The next moment they were an expanding cloud of debris and fire. The second ship tried to raise shields. It managed to get them halfway up before Daniel's weapons punched through like they were not even there. The vessel broke apart in 3 distinct pieces. A third ship attempted to flee. It made it perhaps 200 meters before something invisible tore through its reactor core. The explosion lit up the darkness of space. Commander Vallis watched with a mixture of awe and horror. 3 ships destroyed in less than a minute. Not disabled. Destroyed. The human had stopped playing. He warned them, she said quietly. He gave them a chance to leave. Riss was clicking rapidly, her species equivalent of nervous laughter. They threatened the station. They threatened us. And he stopped holding back. The remaining 3 Creth ships, including Goreth's flagship, broke formation and ran. They abandoned their disabled comrades. They abandoned their mission. They fled toward the edge of the system as fast as their engines could carry them. Daniel let them go. He let them almost reach the jump point, almost reach safety. Then his voice came over the communication channel one final time. Every ship in the system heard it. Every being on Horizon Station heard it. The recording would spread across the galaxy within days. Admiral Goreth, stop your ships. The Creth vessels slowed. They had no choice. The human had proven he could destroy them whenever he wished. Running would accomplish nothing. You will return to your dominion, Daniel continued. His voice was ice. You will deliver a message to your leaders. This station and its people are under human protection. Every world in the Valorii Federation is under human protection. If any Creth vessel enters their space with hostile intent again, we will not send one ship. A pause. The silence stretched across the void. We will send a fleet, and we will not stop at disabling your vessels. We will burn your shipyards. We will destroy your military infrastructure. We will make certain that the Creth Dominion never threatens anyone ever again. Goreth's claws trembled on his command throne. No one had ever spoken to him like this. No one had ever dared. Do you understand me, Admiral? I understand. The words tasted like poison. Good. Now leave. Take your wounded. Tell your Dominion what happened here. And pray we never meet again. The 3 surviving Creth ships limped toward the jump point. Behind them, 6 disabled vessels drifted in space, their crews waiting for rescue that might never come. The battle was over. It had lasted less than an hour. On Horizon Station, the the population slowly emerged from their shelter zones. They gathered at observation windows and watched the impossible sight before them. A single small ship, surrounded by the wreckage of an invasion fleet. Commander Valis received a communication request from the human vessel. "Commander," Daniel Webb said, his voice tired but warm. "Permission to dock? I could really use a cup of coffee." Valis found herself laughing. Actually laughing. After the most terrifying hours of her life, after watching her station nearly destroyed, after witnessing violence she could not comprehend, she laughed. "Permission granted, Captain Webb. I believe we can find something you would like." "Appreciated, Commander. I'll be there in 5 minutes." Riss turned to Valis, her compound eyes reflecting the distant fires of destroyed ships. "Is it over?" Valis nodded slowly. "For now, I think we have some new friends to thank." Outside, the Resolute began its approach to the station, leaving behind a field of broken dreams and shattered Creth pride. The docking bay was packed. Every species on Horizon Station had gathered to witness the arrival of their savior. They expected a warrior of legend, a giant among his kind, a being of terrifying power and presence. The airlock hissed open. Daniel Webb stepped through and looked around at the crowd with mild surprise. He was shorter than most of the Skylith. His frame was ordinary by any standard. He had a small scar on his chin, tired eyes, and a crooked smile that seemed almost embarrassed by all the attention. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. A young Chirani child broke free from her mother and approached the human. Her antennae twitched as she looked up at him. "Are you really the one who fought all those ships?" she asked. Daniel crouched down to her level. "I am. What's your name?" "Tilla." "Nice to meet you, Tilla. Are you okay?" "That must have been pretty scary." The child considered the question. "Mother said bad people wanted to hurt us. She said you stopped them." "That's right. Bad people shouldn't hurt others. It's not nice." Tilla nodded seriously. "Thank you for stopping them." "You're welcome." The crowd finally began to react. Cheers rose from thousands of throats and vocal organs. Beings pressed forward to touch the human, to thank him, to see with their own eyes the creature who had saved their lives. Daniel handled it with patient grace. He shook hands with those who had hands. He accepted embraces from those who did not. He answered the same questions over and over without complaint. Eventually, Commander Valis rescued him from the crowd and led him to her private office. The door closed behind them, sealing out the noise and celebration. "Coffee?" Valis asked, gesturing to a brewing device she had installed specifically for this meeting. Human trade ships had provided the beans months ago. "Please." Daniel sank into a chair with obvious relief. "Crowds are not really my thing." Valis prepared 2 cups and sat across from him. She studied his face, searching for some sign of the warrior she had watched destroy 3 ships in under a minute. She found only a tired man who wanted a hot drink. "I have questions," she said. "I figured you might. Why did you come alone? Your admiral said 1 ship would be sufficient. Why not send more? Why risk a single pilot against impossible odds?" Daniel took a long sip of coffee before answering. "A fleet takes time to assemble. Ships need to be recalled from patrol routes. Crews need to be briefed. Supplies need to be loaded. For a full military response, we would have needed at least 4 days. But you arrived in 6 hours. The Rapid Response Program exists for exactly these situations. We have pilots stationed at strategic points across our territory, ready to launch at any moment." I was eating dinner when the call came. I finished my meal, said goodbye to my mother, and flew here through folded space. Valis shook her head slowly. The distance should have been impossible. Humanity specializes in impossible. Daniel smiled that crooked smile again. "It's kind of our thing. But the risk. You faced 12 warships. Any rational being would have hesitated, would have waited for support, would have at least felt afraid." Daniel set down his cup and looked at her directly. "Commander, I'm going to tell you something about humans that most species don't understand. We feel fear. We feel it constantly. Our entire evolution was shaped by fear. We feared predators, so we learned to hunt them. We feared the cold, so we mastered fire. We feared the ocean, so we built ships to cross it. We feared the sky, so we invented flight. We feared the stars, so we reached them anyway." That sounds exhausting. It is, but it also means something important. Fear is not our enemy. Fear is our fuel. When something scares us, we don't run away. We learn everything we can about it. We find its weaknesses. We figure out how to beat it. Valis considered this. So you were afraid today? Absolutely. 12 warships against 1. The odds were terrible. Any reasonable person would have been terrified. But you came anyway. Daniel's expression hardened slightly. 8,000 innocent people were going to be enslaved or killed. Children like Tilla were going to grow up in chains. And the beings responsible were laughing about it, celebrating their easy victory. He picked up his coffee again. I hate bullies, Commander. I have hated them since I was a child. Powerful beings who hurt others just because they can. It makes me angry in a way I cannot describe. So you came not despite the fear, but because of the anger. I came because it was the right thing to do. Because I made a promise when I put on this uniform. Because somewhere on this station, a little Chirani girl was hugging her mother and wondering if she was going to die. Daniel looked out the window at the stars. That's worth being afraid for. That's worth dying for. Valis felt something shift in her understanding of humans. They were not fearless warriors. They were not superhuman soldiers. They were ordinary beings who chose to act despite their fear. And that, she realized, was far more impressive. 3 months passed. The galaxy changed forever. Word of the Battle of Horizons spread faster than light itself. Every species with access to communication networks heard the story. A single human pilot had faced 12 Creth warships and won. Not through superior numbers. Not through surprise. Just through skill, courage, and a refusal to let innocent beings suffer. The Cre Dominion retreated to its core territories. Admiral Gorith was executed by his own government for his failure. The proud empire that had terrorized dozens of worlds suddenly found itself isolated and afraid. No one wanted to risk attracting human attention, but something far more important happened in those 3 months. Species began reaching out to humanity. The Delmar sent formal diplomatic missions. The Chirani opened trade negotiations. The Skylith offered cultural exchanges. A dozen other civilizations, all of them victims of aggression from neighbors, all of them living in fear, asked the same question. Could we have a defense pact too? The humans said yes to everyone. Horizon Station was renamed Hope Station in a ceremony attended by representatives from 30 species. A monument was erected in the central plaza. It showed the silhouette of a small ship facing 12 larger ones. The inscription beneath it, translated into 100 languages, read, "One was enough." Riss became the station's official human liaison officer. Her years of studying human culture finally had practical value. She spent her days helping visitors understand these strange beings from a death world who had chosen to be protectors instead of conquerors. Commander Valis was promoted to ambassador. She traveled the galaxy telling her story, always ending with the same words. When the universe abandons you, when your enemies surround you, when all hope seems lost, call a human. They will come. And Daniel Webb. He went home. He declined every medal. He rejected every honor. When reporters asked for interviews, he politely refused. When governments offered him positions of power, he laughed and shook his head. "I'm just a pilot," he told anyone who asked. "I did my job. That's all." He returned to his small apartment overlooking the ocean. He resumed eating dinner with his mother every Sunday. He took up fishing again, spending quiet mornings on the water with nothing but his thoughts and the sound of waves. Sometimes he received messages from Hope Station. Pictures of children playing in the corridors. Updates on new trade agreements. Simple greetings from beings who remembered what he had done for them. That he saved every message. In the dark corners of the galaxy, a new legend spread. Pirates whispered it in their hidden bases. Warlords discussed it in their war rooms. Aggressive empires noted it in their strategic planning. Do not attack humanity's allies. Do not threaten those under their protection. Do not assume your numbers make you safe. Because when you corner the peaceful, when you threaten the innocent, when you celebrate your victory too soon, something happens. They call a human. And humans have a way of ruining the best-laid plans of monsters. One morning, Daniel woke to find a message waiting on his communication device. It was from a species he had never met, living on a world he had never visited. They were facing invasion. They had nowhere else to turn. "Please," the message read, "we heard about what you did at Horizon. We are just farmers. We have no military. Our neighbors want to take our planet. Can you help us?" Daniel read the message 3 times. He thought about his quiet life, his fishing trips, his Sunday dinners. He thought about the peace he had finally found. Then he thought about farmers facing invasion, children who would grow up under occupation, families torn apart by violence. He put down his coffee and walked to his closet. His uniform hung there, clean and pressed. He had hoped he would never need it again. Hope was a luxury he could not afford. 40 minutes later, the Resolute launched from Earth orbit, its single pilot already plotting a course through folded space. Behind him, his mother stood at her window and watched the sky. She did not cry. She was used to this. Her son was a human, after all, and humans always answer when someone needs help.